Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Nice to see everyone.
Greetings.
I would like to call the meeting to order at 2:01 p.m.
Please remember to state that you are via Zoom and your location when I call your name. Breitner?
Via Zoom in Benton Harbor, Bainbridge Township.
Meeks?
Present via Zoom, Ben Charter Township.
Scott?
I'm present live from Studio Z in New Buffalo Township.
Smith?
Present via Zoom in the city of St. Joseph.
Waycamp?
Kathy Wycamp, here present in St. Joseph.
Wyke?
Present in the administration building,
And
St.
Yarbrough?
Joseph.
Yarbrough?
Present via Zoom in the city of Benton Harbor.
And you have 7 present.
Thank you. Okay, we will proceed with communications with the Michigan Association of Land Bank.
Yes, I would like to just give you a quick update or a briefing on the Michigan Association of Land Banks has been meeting I'm actually on the policy committee. I serve on that policy committee with others. And we have been looking nationally at some meeting and outreach with other members from the Center for Community Progress has been engaging and coordinating with us to kind of understand some of what our needs are and just to kind of understand how we can provide more education so that the association can provide more education to other land bank authorities throughout the state and really understand some of the impacts of the updated General Property Tax Act. So that has been, they've been working very hard. Members, there's a couple different other committees that have also been gathering and engaging in conversations around state land bank as well as individual county land banks and how we move forward, address COVID as well as what the new normal might look like in the future. That's all I have to report. There'll be lots, there'll probably be more information each month as we move forward. But there is definitely the approach to start to really look at how the association can be a more useful resource and tool for us.
Thank you, Katie. I would also like to, at this time, congratulate Katie for being appointed as a co-chair to the Michigan Association of Land Bank Policy and Advocacy Committee. I think she'll do a fine job for us in helping to ensure that our interests as a land bank are represented in state's legislation. So congratulations, Katie. We know you'll do well.
Yeah, great.
Big hand, big hand.
Oh, that's it. Bravo.
Okay.
I have a quick question, Katie. While the legislation is sort of being unraveled and decoded and things, are our hands kind of tied in the meantime from starting new actions or projects or things? Is that kind of where we sit at the moment?
Well, there's still there's still navigating through just understanding what it entails.
Okay.
But as far as activities and as we move forward in projects or opportunities, I would say they're very similar to what we've been doing.
Okay.
And in general, a lot of the changes to the General Property Tax Act haven't really impacted or affected us as a Berrien County Land Bank Authority. It has had some impacts with other land banks,
Okay.
particularly with how they, some receive general allocations from the county to help with their operating costs and overall budget. We don't have that, so it hasn't, we actually are okay as we move forward. So for us, there's not any major significant changes, only just the continued issue, the issues that we are always dealing with is how do we keep ourselves self-sufficient? How do we maintain a healthy cash flow and resources to be able to continue and be able to maybe expand the work and opportunities that we can use utilizing the toolkit we have.
Okay.
So to answer your question simply, we can still do what we have in our toolkit that is capable for us to do. Our limitations are all of the other things going on in the world. So.
Great. Thanks and congratulations. That'll be great to have you on the inside in there, and that'll be great.
Okay. I would just say we need to approve the minutes. I don't think we did that.
I was just going to comment on that.
That was my mistake. I apologize. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes from the November 19th, 2020 meeting?
So moved.
Second,
Who said that?
Krittner.
Okay, thank you. I think it's important that you say your name and even when you go to speak, so we'll know who's talking, okay?
And Don, you seconded, correct?
that'll be it. Thank you. Commissioner Meeks.
Thank you.
Okay. So Krittner,
Yes.
Meeks,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Yes.
Wycamp,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Yarbrough.
Yes.
You have 7 yeas.
Thank you. Moving on to the Restoring Communities Left Behind Act.
So this is a national piece of legislation that's being proposed or introduced under the 117th Congress. And what this is, it's quite exciting actually, because it provides a lot of opportunities that are new. Like there's no, from my perspective, this isn't taking an existing program and trying to take a square peg and push it in a round hole. This is creating a whole new program or opportunity, and the quick, I did take a couple notes here, so let me find my notes. The quick and easy of it is that it would be a competitive grant, so it's a very competitive grant program that would be administered through Housing and Urban Development, through HUD. It provides neighborhood eligibility criteria of economic distress. So there's a definition of categories of economic distress within neighborhoods. And it really is focused on doing partnerships. So it's not, no applicant can be one entity. It has to be a partnership and coordination and cooperation with a variety of stakeholders. Particularly, it has to be somebody with like a nonprofit in community development. However, land banks are explicitly eligible as a partner, and the land bank activities that we do is eligible. So we, this is an opportunity that we would have to be able to access, or if it becomes, if it goes through. The budget for this is proposed as 5 billion a year for 10 years. This is nationally. Remember, this isn't just the state. This is the national program. And
Excuse me one moment. How do you write billion? How many zeros is that? I don't know. How do you write billion?
There's only 1 0 in billion, Billion.
It's easier to write it. I'll write the word out. 5 billion. Okay.
and within that amount, 500 million is earmarked for rural set aside. So for areas in rural communities with land banks or any.
Katie, I have a question for you. If this is federal government money, according to the federal government, I know through the broadband, because we don't have any municipalities that are 50,001, then the whole county is considered rural. But on a state level, we're not.
Right. But as a land bank, we would be an eligible entity as itself. So whether it be out of that 500 million, considering we're a rural land bank, we can still do projects specific to the eligible activities. So some of the, so again, there's criteria at the county level, and it must, this is the criteria of their economic distress. And it needs to be 4 of the following, like appraisal gaps, high residential and commercial vacancy rates, low rates of home ownership, racial disparity in home ownership rates, high poverty rates, high rates of unemployment or underemployment, population loss, lack of private sector lending on fair and competitive terms for individuals to purchase homes or to start small businesses. So the spectrum is pretty large in the types of criteria to meet economic distress. And then the eligible activities is where it gets real exciting, because for our communities and our neighborhoods that we work with, where, you know, we may have our silos on, like we do demos. We're very good at doing demos, but there's a lot of other things that maybe can support that demo that we don't always get to do because there's no resources or there's limitations to being able to do that. Here's an opportunity to kind of look at that in a more holistic approach. So some eligible activities are assistance to existing residents, and that can be including in rehab, weatherization, improve accessibility and livability for seniors or persons with disability. It provides energy efficiency improvements, housing and loss mitigation counseling, property tax relief. Hey, property tax relief. Here's an opportunity to keep people from ever even having to go into foreclosure. There's also other things such as purchasing non-performing mortgages for existing homeowners and advanced neighborhood to create stability. There's also purchasing and redevelopment of vacant, abandoned, and distressed properties. There's also housing counseling, down payment assistance for prospective home buyers. So it's really the gamut of many different programs that, you know, you might be able to get assistance from one agency to another. So this is where we can partner with many agencies as well as organizations and try to access and do lots of good stuff. The one thing that's also in here is demolition for abandoned and distressed structures. There is a cap to that. It can't exceed more than 10% of the total funding, but there is opportunities to continue to do the demolition and remove blight. Another thing that it also is an eligible activity is it can establish establishing or operating land bank costs. So it can provide assistance to keep us doing the work we do. So that's really exciting. And then there's also a small portion available for doing beautification type things like improving parks, sidewalks, and street lighting. So if you take a neighborhood area that we want to, that a redevelopment project's proposed, we can really take it up a notch, really make it right, and enhance that community. So there's a variety of different things going on. It would be competitive. There's several different elements to being eligible, and it really involves partnership. So this has been presented or introduced, and it's in the process, so to speak. It hasn't been acted upon, but they're still trying to gain more support from making it a bipartisan endeavor. And just wanted to share that with you because it is a pretty exciting new piece of legislation that can create a program that's really, really would be quite supportive to what we want to do with the land bank.
May I say something, Chairperson?
Please do.
It's exciting, Katie, and the things that you mentioned. What I think about is the last thing we talked about was rehabs with what is the Habitat for Humanity. Instead of building new houses, that they would get houses and rehab them and put them back on the tax roll. You think some of this money could be used for something like that?
Absolutely.
And then what I think about is this last tax sale. I wish it had been open where you could be there, but you sold everything. You sold houses that were leaning and for a lot of money. And now hopefully the people are going to put them back together. We're all watching HGTV. We think we can fix something. And so with some of this money, could it be used for things like that to truly get houses back and people living in them?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's marvelous, because that's what we need, make it the finances available to people and then give classes on how to manage your money and pay your bills and all of that. It's exciting.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. I'm sure that, with many other things, there's another piece of legislation that was introduced last year, but it didn't go, well, there's two pieces of other legislation that were presented or introduced in last year. One is the National Land Bank Network Act, which is a separate specific for doing National Land Bank work. And there is funding set aside. That's also competitive, but there is funding specifically set aside to assist with operation funds, as well as creating new land banks and, being able to do the good work of land banks and finding national models and trends and being able to, and that is, the funding on that is much smaller, but I don't know if there's any changes being presented, but that was introduced by Kildee. And I don't, that's also eventually probably making it for this year. And there's another piece of legislation called the Neighborhood Homes Investment Act. And that is also supportive to providing kind of a credit for redevelopment, private investment, redevelopment with a credit of the difference of the gap of what investment goes in and then what it's sold for. So I don't know too much detail about that, but just that they're also kind of in the mix of what's being introduced and trying to gain support nationally.
Thank you, Katie. We can move on to, is there any public comment?
I don't believe so, but I'm going to ask one more time.
How many are watching, Annette?
2. Yeah, no, you're good. Yep, I'll check back again before the end just to make sure that I'm not missing something.
Okay, thank you. Moving on next to budget.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
We got money. We don't have money. We got money. That's the gist of it. You did all receive earlier in your emails the balance sheet and the cash and revenue of our financial report. And to put it simply, this doesn't happen that much, but we don't have any invoices. And we did receive a bit of property taxes, which is part of the 550. So whenever we sell property for the next 5 years, we get 50% of the taxes to help us with our operating costs. And so as of at the end of January, we had $468,327. And then our cash and investments as of today is $468,353. We also, we are, as of right now, there's very minimal work or expenses that are happening. We have no properties to maintain or cut grass for the spring. So the horizon looks good at the moment.
May I ask a question? May I ask a question?
Go ahead, Mamie.
It's Mamie Yarbrough. Is this 400 and something thousand from the sale of Mendel, of the sale of Reynolds Aluminum? What do we call it? Isn't it dollars from our sale to Nobo?
Correct. So this is just the balance, our cash balance as of today. And what made that positive is the sale of the El Rico building, the former El Rico building.
And so for 5 years, when does that start? And when does it end? 5 years, we get some of the tax money.
So it's from the date of the sale and it projects 5 years. So we sold that property in 2019. So we are in year 2 of tax capture.
Okay, it's for each property. I thought it was like you meant the whole tax sale you just had the last time it was September. Did we get?
No, sorry, Mamie. Can I please, let me explain. So for every property that we sell, when we go to sell a property, if it's a vacant lot, a 50 by 50 lot in Benton Harbor, or an industrial property that we sold, once we sell those properties, we are eligible to receive 50% of the tax capture for 5 years.
The land bank.
The land bank. Yes, sorry. The land bank is eligible to receive 50%. There are exceptions to that. For example, if we sold a side lot to a person who owns their home and they were buying the side lot and they combine those lots together, we would then exempt we would waive we don't have the option to collect 50% of the tax capture on a half of a property that they've combined. So in many cases we've chosen, because it's for the better of the better for the taxes, because it's now one property that will be managed, as opposed to 3 individual lots that may be forgotten by somebody moved and isn't getting their tax bill. So this is one way for us, and it's in the legislation for the Land Bank Fast Track Authority. For when we created a Land Bank Authority for Berrien County, we are eligible to receive these dollars. And the thought was this would help support the operations and management of the properties. But as we can easily learn and see that, it's not as large of amount of money to support and operating a large land bank.
Thank you so much. But when you said we, I thought Berrien County.
Yeah, so this has nothing to do with
half of what,
yeah.
Thank you. Thank
We as the land bank, but it has nothing to do with the county treasurer's auction or properties that go into foreclosure. It's completely separate.
Yeah, and I probably heard that before, but I forgot.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
Okay, do we have any bills to approve?
At this time, we do not. So you would just be accepting the financial report as presented.
Okay. Can we get a motion to approve the financial report as presented?
So maybe, Barbara.
I'll defer.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I believe, Mamie, you made the motion and Steve seconded. Is that correct?
Okay.
Correct.
Krittner,
Yes.
Meeks has left. Scott,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Wycamp,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Yarbrough.
Yes.
All right, we have 6 yeas and 1 absent.
All right, thank you. Is there any old business that we need to address? Looks like nothing. Okay, moving on to new business. It was asked if possibly we could change the meeting time of our land bank meeting to 1 o'clock for these meetings. I did find out that the pension board meetings are also on the 4th Thursday as well, and those are held at noon. Once they haven't been meeting, but once we can all start meeting in person, that I'm not sure if that's going to pose a problem for land bank adjusting the time to 1 o'clock. What are some thoughts on that? Or a different time? Any thoughts?
I'm okay with the Zoom 1 o'clock. But once we get back into real persons, which I don't think is going to happen until 2022, just my opinion, we can change it then. But I'm in favor of having it a little earlier rather than 2 o'clock. That's it, my nap time, you understand.
I agree. A little earlier would be great. That's fine.
Support.
And that's what I wanted. I came up with that because I thought that we had our land bank meeting at 2 o'clock because Brett had a Rotary or something he had to go to. And so that's how we got to that later time. And I thought that was quite a gap, but it may not be because today we were in until after 12. Were we in our meeting till after 12 today?
Yep, yep.
A little bit after. Annette, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I thought I had muted myself. How long do your pension board meetings usually last? Are they within an hour?
An hour. It's within an hour. Easily. This is when the
Okay.
lady comes from Chicago, even. It's still over in Ezra.
Yep, yeah. It usually lasts an hour. Yep.
Okay.
So what do you think?
I'm all in support of doing it at 1 o'clock until further notice. And then if we do ever get back to in-house meetings and we see that it's going to run a little long, we can always adjust back then. You know, let's make that decision at that time, but make it 1 o'clock now is fine with me.
Yep.
I'm flexible. I have no problem with it.
Yes.
Do we need a motion to approve that?
I don't know if we do,
Oh,
but I don't think we do. But in case we do, I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I will support Mamie Yarborough.
Brittner,
Yes,
Meeks is absent. Scott,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Whitecamp,
Yep.
White,
yes,
Yarborough.
Yes.
You have 6 yeas and 1 absent.
okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to the General Property Tax Act, the changes that have gone due to the act itself, how it's going to affect land banks moving forward. The biggest thing I can say is how the first right of refusal is going to work going forward. What we call pre-sale, which is no later, now once the auction properties are, we put them out there, what's going to auction, the pre-sale no later than the first Tuesday in July. The order goes like this as far as the first right of refusal to purchase a property. The state has the first opportunity and they must pay fair market value. Second is the city, village, township, or the city land bank authority, which is new. Okay, it only used to be city, village, or township, but now they've added city land bank authority. Thirdly, the county can purchase, and added for fourth in line is the county land bank authority. So, so if one of these for wants to purchase a property, okay, it all comes down to if there is a claim filed by a party of interest that was owner of that property before it went to sale. If a notice of claim has been filed, then that unit, whoever it may be, must pay greater, whichever is greater, minimum bid or fair market value. If a notice of claim by a party of interest has not been filed, then you can purchase it for minimum bid. The state will still have to pay fair market value.
Okay.
Fair market value, for the most part, it's been determined to do it the SEV times 2. That has been disputed across the state. We as treasurers have beat our heads against the wall over this. So anyway, that's that. Now, in between sales for first right of refusal, then it goes down to the city, village, township, or city land bank again, may purchase it for minimum bid only.
What, may I interrupt a minute?
Yes,
What is a city land bank? Is that something new?
I've never heard of it.
I never
Unless-
heard of it.
So
That-
it's, if I can interject, the
Please
city
do.
land bank is predominantly just the city of Detroit. The city of Detroit has its own land bank authority.
Oh, okay.
So I would, there might be other cities that choose to create a land bank authority, but as from my knowledge, I believe just the city of Detroit has their own land bank authority.
Okay.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, so that's it. And then the county can purchase for minimum bid. And then the county land bank may purchase for minimum bid. So other changes in regards to this, changes to the statute. In past legislation or in past statute, if a property was purchased by a local unit or whoever, state, county, it had to be used for public purpose. That's no longer the case in the change of statute. And then also, if a local unit sold that property to whomever afterwards, if they decided they didn't want the property, if they choose to sell it, they had to pay the excess back to the county. It's no longer the case in the new legislation. That profit does not go back to the foreclosing governmental unit, which in this case is the county treasurer. On other notes, the new change in statute clarifies that the FGU may transfer the leftover parcels to their local land bank or subsequently sell these parcels. We have done that in the past, so that's not really a change for Berrien County. Also, it now explicitly says that leftover unsold parcels are exempt from taxes while held by the FGU. And we have done that in the past as well. So that's basically it in a nutshell, as far as now the land bank is in line for first refusal if they so choose. Are there any questions pertaining to that? We're still trying to work out the bugs with this whole thing going forward.
Mamie Yarbrough, I wish you would talk about there are some other things. We used to demolish the properties. We used to, if people were gonna try to convince us to keep it, they had to say when they would get it done. You know, I'm thinking about that, but.
Yeah. Last year, due to the pandemic and such, and then also we didn't know the effects of how this legislation was going to go.
Yep.
We chose not to do any demolitions because we weren't sure how it was going to affect the fund.
Right.
This year we're looking at in the same direction. I don't think we're going to be able to do any demolitions.
No. Yeah.
Just because of the way it's going to affect the fund and how it pertains the delinquent tax revolving fund, the general fund going forward.
Yeah, and we're not to discuss that at this time,
Correct.
I think.
And
But I think it's marvelous if you don't look this year and have well, you won't have it. You got 3 years before it comes back to you. But hopefully people will do something with the structures that they bidded on. Because they went higher, much higher than what was necessary, didn't they?
Yes.
And I would only add that, Commissioner Yarbrough, is that this is one of the reasons, or, why I bring up this national legislation is because we won't have funding locally to do demolitions or the type of work we've done in the past. And this piece of, if this program actually can happen, this would be another opportunity or resource that we could tap into to utilize the, the capabilities and the resources that we can, and activities that we can do as a land bank with other funding.
Okay.
I like the sounds of that legislation, Katie.
I do too.
It is exciting. It really is.
Yeah.
Like you said, it can provide opportunities that we used to be able to do, with funding from the tax sales, but times are changing. So we have to look at other avenues as well. Looking ahead to this first right of refusal, when we determine our foreclosure list, what's going to auction, I can provide that list to the land bank to see if there is anything out there that they might be interested in. Is that how you want to handle it, or you want to come to me? Open for suggestions. Is the land bank even interested in these tax foreclosed parcels?
May I say something? Mamie Yarbrough. I don't mean to be worrisome or asking too many questions, but I've been in this. Katie and I have been in this since it started. And the fact that we did not let that Alrico property be in the $50 sale was one of the best things we ever did. And so I think that if we look and see what's there, or if something you could bring to the land bank's attention, here is something that could be developed, then we need to know that, because that would help us. And I say something to Ms. Camp and Realtor Attorney Smith, if you all would kind of have something to say about, us keeping a piece of property that could be developed. Not that we would develop it, but that we could sell it. Is that speculation?
Yes.
Is it legal?
Amy, I think that I'll just comment on, from my experience being on this board with you since the beginning, what has motivated the land bank to have properties has always been some sort of unique fact pattern, or the history of the property was such, or the property owner was what motivated us, rather than, I think we've always wanted to not impact the market any more than absolutely necessary under unique circumstances.
Yeah. Or keep somebody else from buying it or developing it.
Yeah. If I could ask, Madam Treasurer, so the county treasurer is in line before the county land bank. I'm trying to imagine situations where the treasurer would decline to acquire a property, but might recommend to the land bank to do so. Can you imagine a situation in that? I know we've done before where the treasurer has taken the property and worked with the land bank, but I can't imagine a situation where if the treasurer passed on a property that the land bank would want to.
And, Steve, I know in the past, Brett has worked with the land bank as treasurer to land bank, working out the logistics of it. He has always told me, he says it's easier to run things through the land bank than to hold on to it as the treasurer. Honestly, I've never been involved in those cases like he was. He always handled those logistics between he and Katie, Dan Fetty, that. So the best I can do right now, with not being so familiar with all of this, and even this new legislation that's out there, like I said, it's so new, but the only thing I can do is basically show the land bank, hey, this is what I have. And if you see potential, hey, let's snatch it up
Yeah.
before I take it to sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just like the El Rico property. You know what, there was no need to put that in the auction block for $50.
Nope.
And now look at it. It's basically, you know, the tax money is coming back. You know, 50% of it's coming back to us. And there's a business in there now.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather see a business up and running than blight.
And they're buying other things in our community. That company is investing.
So if I could just add to the comments with regards to opportunities that when the land bank would be interested in properties that are passed by the county. That kind of aligns with the next section on our new business of areas of focus. And I don't want to get too bogged down in the you know, in this area, but as an example or something that I would say that next month, Dan Fetty is going to join us in the meeting and kind of go over utilizing, leveraging the land bank and brownfield. So if there was a property where we could utilize the brownfield tax increment financing tools, as well with the land bank, and to be able to do a redevelopment or site development project that utilizing there's a model that the state has been using that's been very effective. And it helps to build, you know, one of the areas we want to focus on is our partnerships and developing private partner interests and developers, as well as other organizations that have projects that they just can't seem to get the momentum moving the needle forward. We could hopefully use this as a model and a strategy as we move forward. So there's when the example of taking property or accepting or considering a piece of property in the line of the pecking order, as they say.
You know, and going back to Steve, your question of, you know, is there a time, you know, the county, would we want to be in order to receive that property? You know, by that stage, when it goes to auction, it's cost so much already to maintain, you know, the mowing, the boarding up if I have to, or even sending, you know, someone out to post that property. You know, all of this is adding up.
Yeah.
And by that stage, I just want to turn it over to whoever, somebody that can purchase it, or if a land bank can, you know, if can find a use for it, let's do it. You know, put it back on the tax roll.
Yeah.
So, okay, as we move forward, you know, like I'm getting closer to the foreclosure. We have another month yet before all that happens. So we'll just stay on top of it and keep in touch with all of that. Katie, did you have anything more on the strategic planning?
Only just to add that I think it's difficult to do it in the format through a Zoom meeting, and I hope to honestly be able to, you know, sit around a table and have the discussion, have you all with the little pads of sticky notes, and put your thoughts and comments and interest and, you know, vision this forward. But the one area, what I'd like us to kind of consider and put our emphasis is on an area of focus, like for 2021. And in my discussions and through the Michigan Association of Land Banks, talking with some other land banks in various sizes and more sophisticated in their impact, their community impact, kind of getting some of what's best, you know, what are the best practices and resources out there. And really, you know, the common theme I find is it's the partnerships. It's creating and building those partnerships, and they don't happen immediately. They take time. They have to gain trust and understanding and learning what they're, you know, learning for us to learn what they do, as well as for the entity to the partnerships to know what we do. So there's a big process there. And I think that's kind of what I'd like us to put on the forefront. And as I said, next month, Dan will kind of present utilizing, you know, what some of the tools and leveraging those resources together so that we can, you know, present that and provide those kind of opportunities to investors and investment in the community. I think there are some opportunities that will be coming before us that, you know, if we already understand and build how our partnerships know what our resources, be able to tell our story, that'll certainly help with making, you know, not feeling like we have to start from being a reactive land bank and deal with something, but no, here's what we can do and here's how it would work.
Proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah. So yeah, again, Dan wasn't able to make today because of other commitments, but he will be happy to kind of walk everyone through the process of how to do this, how it's been working with the State Land Bank, and some examples of how we can best utilize these tools.
Very good. We look forward to his presentation.
Shelley,
Yes.
will I ask, it's Mamie again. I don't know if in your mind you know this, but could you give us the schedule for the tax things, like the last payment is due March 31st, or is it in April? And then what happens next?
Okay.
I'd like to write it down. I kind of need it.
Sure. The last day to pay the 2018 and prior taxes is March 31st.
Okay.
Okay. We haven't set our auction date yet. Okay. So that hasn't been determined. Then after that, from April 1st to July 1st, the parties of interest can file a claim for the excess proceeds. And then the July-August timeframe, we'll have our first auction. Well, and to back up, by the first Tuesday, then there will be the first right of refusal.
First Tuesday of what? July? First
July, yes.
Okay.
Okay. And then we'll have our auction, our first auction. And then we'll ultimately have a second auction, I'm sure. And those have to be finished by the first Tuesday in November. And then I want to say, I think it's July, or not July, January 31st, January 1st or January 31st, I can't remember, through April 1st, then those parties of interest that filed a claim by the previous July, then they have to file a claim with the court. Okay, and then in between that time, we have statutory notices we have to send certified and such.
Okay. All right.
Pretty much the time frame.
That's very, very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Anything else that needs to be addressed? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I will move that we adjourn this wonderful meeting.
Support.
All right.
Give me a minute now.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank
Enjoy
you.
your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.